Because for all the talk of all these Reagan staffers supporting Kamala Harris, there's no votes there. That's not going to turn people out. We know undecided voters turn out because they're activated by the partisan leading they already have, not because they're right in the middle and are waiting to see who's the most center of all the candidates. So they're just this like sort of conservative little gamble they're doing is, I think, because they think they can walk to a victory and they don't need to break that glass and actually change the policy, because they'd rather win with these freaks than with people who expect people to stop a genocide.
I mean, I think that's true. And I think that's the biggest, I mean, to me, that's the biggest concern I have about Harris in this moment. Like the biggest concern, the thing, and I mean, both from a governance perspective and frankly, even an electoral strategy. I remember Chuck Schumer saying, I've got Schumer. Yes, he spoke about himself in the third person. I've got Schumer, I've got Ryan, speaking of Paul Ryan, and I've got Clinton, and we're going to make a deal. At that time, there was a lot of offshored cash. American companies in the wake of World War II were given a tax break, essentially by Eisenhower, which was you do not have to pay taxes on money until you repatriate it to this country. And over the years, what corporations started, and the idea was to build, it was basically to, enhance the Marshall Plan, if you will, and build industries and build markets in other countries. And then American corporations were like, oh, wait a second, let's not repatriate the money until we get a Republican office. And then when George Bush comes by, he'll do something called the American Jobs Act. And that means you can repatriate the money instead of at a full lesser corporate tax rate than we have in this country, an even more discounted tax rate, 5%. And it's going to create all sorts of jobs in America. We can look that up. The American Jobs Creation Act created no jobs. In fact, the company that promoted it, Hewlett Packard, actually cut like 15,000 jobs in the wake of that. Nevertheless, this money was still being offshored. It built up 12 years later. And Chuck Schumer was like, I've got a deal, and we're gonna collect 7% taxes on that and earmark a bunch of it to infrastructure building. And I'm convinced that the Clinton campaign wanted to, and they protected. Remember, they never went after Paul Ryan or Mitch McConnell in relation to Trump. They could have. They could have made it toxic for them to be supportive of him, and they didn't. And I think they thought they were going to win, and they wanted to fashion the constituencies that supported them, and they wanted to make sure to basically not vilify Paul Ryan, make this deal more palatable and seem like and they tried to do this. And, places like Michigan and Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, they're sensitive maybe to the idea of repatriating money without any, at a lesser tax rate, because that's going to encourage a certain amount of offshoring. So maybe you don't visit there in the final weeks because you want to build up your votes in the suburbs. Yeah. And maybe you want to, maybe you're worried more about like the Sun Belt strategy than the Rust Belt strategy.
Oy.
And
I don't like that. I don't. If that's Harris's thinking, that's not good.
I don't know if Harris is thinking that, but certainly there are people walking around that White House who still,
I mean, it's Biden's campaign. Like, we have to also remember, like, these are a lot of the people making decisions. And again, the buck stops with her. She's the candidate. But the infrastructure of the campaign is still all the Biden people.
Now, I will say this, that the negative partisanship that exists today, Democrats are far more conscious of it than they were in 2016.
Yeah.
So they perceive that as motivating a lot. And if they can pick off or cut into basically a rear guard action, against Trump and Republicans, that's also their thing. But it's just something like people need to be conscious of it. The work does not end if Kamala Harris gets elected president. The work starts the next day.
Yep.
The next day.